Now, a report from The Telegraph has alleged that an anomaly in the welfare system is fueling Britain's jobless crisis by encouraging people to work just 2 days per week. If people earn above a certain threshold, their universal credit payments are tapered, providing an incentive to not work more days. Lee Anderson, the Conservative MP for Ashfield, has raised the issue with the Chancellor and said that Jeremy Hunt says, "Listen very carefully to what I had to say, and I'm convinced that he will act on this unfairness." Well, we've done it. We've found one. We've found a unicorn, a Conservative within the Conservative Party. And joining me right now is the man himself, Lee Anderson, MP from Ashfield. Lee, thank you for giving us some of your time on this Saturday. I know the football's on or starting very soon. You raised this issue 2 years ago and said you were ridiculed by the left and the mainstream media for doing so. Do you feel vindicated now?
I do a little bit, Calvin, but it's work in progress. There's a long way to go on this. Look, I spent many years working for the Citizens Advice Bureau in Ashfield, advising on benefits and helping people with the benefits claim. And that's when I first saw this anomaly, as you rightly call it. It actually, this system we've got is so unfair, Calvin. We've got people like the Telegraph reporters getting over 40 grand a year, not paying any income tax, by the way. About 30 odd grand of that comes in the form of universal credits. And I've got people in Ashfield earning 25, 30 grand a year, doing the overtime, working 6 or 7 days, and actually paying income tax, the same income tax that goes to pay, people who's getting 30 odd grand on universal credit. We've got pensioners getting about 8 to 9 grand a year, state retirement pension. But like I say, people on low skilled, 16-hour-a-week jobs, breaking in 40 odd grand, not paying any income tax, that's not fair, and it needs to change.
Lee, I don't understand it. I thought the whole purpose of the welfare system was a safety net to stop people from falling through the cracks of society, to stop them being homeless and starving. Surely people should always be better off from working and getting out and contributing than from staying on benefits at home doing nothing.
It should, Calvin. I mean, the welfare state was created in 1948 by the Labour Party, fair play to that, but it wasn't meant to be a way of life. It wasn't meant to subsidise wages. It wasn't meant to allow firms to recruit people on 16 hours a week and let the taxpayer top up their wages. It wasn't intended for any of that. It was intended to help people when they fell on difficult times, whether that be a death in the family, a disability, an illness, a relationship breakdown. But now it seems to be a way of life for millions of people up and down the country. And the people who are footing the bill are the just about managing families who are doing a shift every day, going out to work, doing the right thing, working full time, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens. Again, they bear the brunt of this cost.
So what can be done about this? How can the system be reformed to make it fairer for everybody and provide the right incentives to get to work?
Well, we need to readjust the cap, Calvin. That's the first thing we need to do. The cap is far too generous. We look at London, people getting 40 odd grand, like I keep harping on about. The normal benefit cap actually is about 24 grand, I believe. If we can bring it back to that, and that's still generous, 24 grand of taxpayers' money going into people's bank accounts every year, that's more than generous. But we need to reduce the cap. We need to probably get the taper, shift the taper again, and make sure that people cannot, stop on entry-level jobs for 20 years, earning minimum wage, breaking in 40 grand a year. That's not fair. I might sound like a nasty Tory, but when I'm talking to my residents and constituents in Ashfield, like I say, are working 7 days a week, they're getting nowhere near 40 odd grand, and they're paying income tax.
Well, absolutely. I think there's a million job vacancies right now, 5.3 million people out of work. Should we not do something like we've seen in other countries where if you don't accept the first job you're offered, your benefits are cut?
Hey, listen, Calvin, I mentioned this before I got elected, and I got in big trouble. They were calling me a nasty Tory. I suggested that criminals should go and work and pick fruit and vegetables in fields. I suggested, we've got a labour shortage, as you quite rightly say, 1 million vacancies. We've got people not doing anything, hanging around street corners all day. They should be getting benefits. We should be contributing towards society. And this system we've got, Calvin, this anomaly, as you call it, what are children thinking in a household when they see a parent working 16 hours a week and getting 40 odd grand a year? When they get to 18, they're probably going to think, I'm having some of that. There's no point in getting a decent education, and there's no point in having an aspiration. There's no point in working full time. That is not good for the country.
No. And Fraser Nelson in The Spectator has argued that this is due to lockdown. It might be a contributing factor, but I don't think that's fair because I grew up not far from where you are, the MP, and when I was growing up, my mum worked 2 jobs, and people nearby were on benefits, making more than my mum was, and that's what made me a Conservative, seeing the unfairness in the system. So it's been this way for a long time. Why is that?
Yeah, well, yeah, ignore Fraser Nelson. Most people do, Kelvin, if I'm absolutely honest. Look, it's all about aspiration, isn't it? We've created a society where you can get as much, if not more money, working 16 hours a week or not even working at all. And that's absolutely awful. And your mother is, just like other mothers in Ashfield and Mansfield, where you're from, who did work 2 or 3 jobs. I've had 3 jobs before to put food on the table, to pay the rent, to pay the mortgage. That's what we do in this country. We cannot become a society where people are just working 16 hours a week, getting 40 odd grand a year at the expense of the taxpayer in this country. It's not fair, Kelvin. It's got to stop. And I'm going to keep pushing this.
Good, thank you for doing that. Lee, what do you think of Jeremy Hunt's city reforms? Will it help make us a more prosperous nation?
Well, I hope so, Kelvin. I'm not sure. I think the jury's still out on that. I've had a couple of chats with Jeremy since he became the Chancellor. He's a steady pair of hands. I did raise the benefit issue with him 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's something I've been raising, since I got in Parliament. I raised it previously with the DWP. They didn't seem to know what I was talking about, but Jeremy gets this. He understands this. Look, we've got to give him time. I know you're coming for some criticism, but give him time, and I'm sure, well, touch wood, he'll be okay. And, we're on it's a tricky time at the moment, Kelvin, for this country with the economy. Everything seems to be coming at us all at once. It's really difficult for government. So I want to put my trust in him.
Okay, fair enough. What would you suggest is the one thing you would change or one policy you would implement to turn things back around in time for the next election?
Oh, what? You mean financially, economically?
Yeah.
I'd sort this benefit things out. It really grates. I mean, this story this morning broke and it sort of exploded and people's shock, horror. But now this has been going on for years, Kelvin. This has, and it's something people just ignored. And go on some of the forums online. Like I say, when I worked for Citizens Advice Bureau, I've got people coming in advising me on benefits. People in this country are not stupid. They know the benefit system inside out. They know the loopholes, and they know how they can rake in a lot of cash. While next door neighbours going to work 40 hours a week. And like I say, it's not fair.
Absolutely. Thank you for all of that. Keep fighting the good fight and hope to see you soon. That's Lee Anderson MP, Conservative MP for Ashfield.